Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Well, students, today we'll be starting the next chapter, which is about transmission of heat. Heat, as you know, you must have come across it and you must have certain experiences about it. Today we shall talk about transmission of heat. Transmission का मतलब है कैसे तवानाई यानी हीट तवानाई हरारत जो है वो एक जगह से दूसरी जगह जाती है. This chapter is about transmission of heat. Kinetic energy is the energy. आपने पिछली क्लासेस में पढ़ा था कि काइनेटिक एनर्जी क्या होती है. जब ये लफ्ज़ काइनेटिक एनर्जी आपके ज़हन में आए, whenever this word of kinetic energy comes into your mind, please understand it is due to the motion of particles. ये मुख्तलिफ ज़र्रात की हरकत की वजह से होती है. You have read this in the junior classes. Kinetic energy is the energy of any matter in motion. The small particles that make up matter are constantly moving. जो छोटे छोटे ज़र्रात होते हैं, पार्टिकल्स का मतलब होता है atoms or molecules. The small particles that make up matter, जिसकी वजह से जिस चीज़ का मादा बना होता है, are constantly moving. वो हमेशा हरकत में होते हैं. And they have kinetic energy. Kinetic energy is always associated with those particles. All those particles have kinetic energy which are moving. And in matter, particles are always moving. So they have kinetic energy, some proportion of kinetic energy. The energy of motion of particles in matter is called thermal energy. और यही kinetic energy जो है, इसको हम जब ये matter में होती है, which is known as thermal energy. When thermal energy is transferred, means that when thermal energy is transferred, is moved from one point to the other, it is called heat. Okay, so that is why, or this is the reason why thermal energy is heat energy. Thermal का मतलब हमेशा heat होता है. Heat is the thermal energy that flows from an object. Heat क्या होती है? Thermal energy वो तवानाई है जो किसी गर्म जिस्म से दूसरे जिस्म तक जाती है. And all heat flows from an object at high temperature to an object at low temperature. हमेशा temperature और heat flows from a body or an object at high temperature to low temperature. It always flows from higher temperature to low temperature. Now transfer of heat, this is the first topic. This was just an introduction of what is heat, and we talked about what you had read in earlier classes. In class 6th you read about it. Transfer of heat, 8.1. Imagine your teacher, just think that your teacher has brought a packet of dates and the teacher wants to distribute these dates to the students in the class. What are the options available to the teacher to do it? किस तरीके से वो इन खजूरों को बच्चों में बांट सकता है? Option number 1, teacher gives packet to first student. The teacher calls the first student and gives the packet to him or to her and asks him or her to distribute to the next, and so on. So the teacher calls for the first student and gives the packet to him and says that please pass it on to the next one and next one and next one and so on. This is one option. Second option is the teacher can ask students to line up, or the teacher can say to all the students, please come and line up. एक line बनाओ, इस पर खड़े हो जाओ. And one by one the students come to the teacher and they get the dates. The third option is, the teacher can throw the packet to each one without movement. The third option is the teacher can throw the packet to the students. The dates can be thrown one by one to all the students. So the three options of thing. One is the teacher, gives it to the first student and says distribute. The second is the teacher calls the students to line up and give one by one to each them. The third is just throw it away to each one of them. These are three options that the teacher can use. Now, what is transmission of heat? ट्रांसमिशन ऑफ हीट, जहाँ लफ्ज़ ट्रांसमिशन है, प्लीज डू नॉट गेट बॉग डाउन बाय इट. ट्रांसमिशन सिंपली मीन द ट्रांसफर ऑफ हीट फ्रॉम वन ऑब्जेक्ट टू द अदर, यानी एक पार्टिकल से दूसरे पार्टिकल ट्रांसफर, एक पार्ट से दूसरे पार्ट ट्रांसफर. द ट्रांसफर ऑफ हीट फ्रॉम वन ऑब्जेक्ट टू द अदर इज कॉल्ड ट्रांसमिशन ऑफ हीट. Now the first method of transmission of heat which you will be reading now is about conduction. And what is conduction? If one end of a metal spoon is placed or heated with a flame, the other end will also get heated up. You know, this is your common experience that if you have a metal spoon and you heat the one end of the spoon, the other gets heated up. The heat gets transferred from this point to this point. The heat energy is transferred from one end of the spoon to the other without actual movement of particles. Such a mode of transmission of heat is called conduction, and the example was of the spoon. So conduction क्या होती है? Conduction क्या होती है? Conduction वो it is that phenomenon of transfer of heat in which one part of the body is heated, and because of it the other parts get heated up, because in conduction heat is transferred from particle to particle, from one to other one. How does it do it? So transfer of heat without actual movement of particles is known as conduction. And conduction occurs in solids, liquids, gases, but solids usually conduct heat better than liquids and gases. So conduction takes place in solid, in liquids as compared to liquids, and gases it is better in solids as compared to them. How does conduction take place? What is the modus operandi of it? What is the method involved in it that conduction takes place? In solids the particles, now please listen to me attentively. In solids the particles are closely held to each other. Suppose this is a spoon or this is a pen made of metal, and I try to heat it. If this portion is heated, the solids are closely packed. The particles of the solids are closely packed to each other. They vibrate continuously about their mean positions. When we heat one part of the solid, the particles gain heat energy and start vibrating faster. During vibration, they bump into other particles and cause them to vibrate fast. In this way, the particles of hot body of the solid transfer heat to the cold body. I'll tell you again. Suppose this is a metallic spoon and you heat it from here. The particles get heated up. When they get heated up, they start vibrating about their main position. When they vibrate, they hit or they bump into the other particles and they transfer the energy from that, and that second one gives the third one and fourth one. Since all of them starts getting they start vibrating about their positions, main positions, and in this way the heat can be transferred from hot body or hot part to the cold one. Now, what are good and bad conductors? And this is another interesting topic, 8.3, and this talks about good and bad conductors. Some solids are good conductors while some solids are bad conductors. Good conductors का मतलब यह है कि वो अच्छे तरीके से तवानाई को एक सिरे से दूसरे सिरे पर ट्रांसफर कर देते हैं. और bad conductors are those which do not. For example, you must have noticed that when you have a piece of wood and you put that into fire, the end which is in the fire starts burning, but the other end does not get heated up. Similarly, if you have plastic, one end gets heated up, the other does not get heated up. But in case of metal, if you have a metallic spoon, when you heat one part, the other part also gets heated. So those particles or those solids which transfer heat better are known as good conductors, and those which do not are bad conductors. So different materials conduct heat at different rates, and this is very easily understood. Some are better conductors, some conduct heat better, some do not. Material which allow heat to flow through them easily are called good conductors. यानी हर वो कंडक्टर, हर वो मेटालिक बॉडी जो कि हीट को आसानी से ट्रांसफर कर देती है, वो गुड कंडक्टर्स है. Material which do not allow heat to flow through them easily are called bad conductors. Okay, or they are also known as heat insulators. यानी हीट को वो इंसुलेट कर देते हैं, रोक देते हैं, उसको हीट को बांध देते हैं. सो बैड कंडक्टर्स आर also known as insulators, for example wood, glass and plastic. They are bad conductors. They do not transfer heat from one part to the other. All liquids, जितनी भी माया चीजें हैं, all liquid except mercury, सिवाय mercury के, and gases are bad conductors. वो bad conductors हैं. Okay, all liquids and gases are bad conductors except mercury. Now why are metals better conductors? Why metals में क्या चीज है, ये धातें जो होती हैं इनमें क्या चीज है कि ये they are good conductors? Is because all solids, metals and non-metals are made of tiny particles called molecules. ये आपने पढ़ा है स्ट्रक्चर ऑफ एटम में कि तमाम मादा जो है वो एटम्स और मॉलिक्यूल्स का बना होता है. But some conduct heat better than either. For example, put a metal plastic, एक प्लास्टिक की और मेटल की स्पून लो, उसको पानी में डालो, मेटल वाली स्पून जल्दी हीट ट्रांसफर करेगी, प्लास्टिक वाली नहीं कर सकेगी. When both spoons receive heat, the particles, atoms and molecules at hot end vibrate fast and bump into adjacent particles. Particles of metals are packed more easily than together than non-metals, so transmit. Now I'll come again. Metals में क्या होता है? They are particles closely packed हैं, एक दूसरे के बहुत नज़दीक packed होते हैं, यानी they are in the metal at very close to each other. These are molecules are very closely packed. So when this gets heated up, इसको गर्म करते हैं तो ये वाइब्रेट करता है अपने मेन पोजीशन के ऊपर, जिसकी वजह से ये सेकंड जो मॉलिक्यूल है ये वाइब्रेट करना शुरू कर देता है, फिर थर्ड करता है, फोर्थ. इस तरीके से हीट जो है ना वो ट्रांसफर होती है बिकॉज ऑफ द वाइब्रेशंस ऑफ द मॉलिक्यूल्स. Particles of metals are packed more closely together than non-metals, so transmit heat energy more readily than non-metals. समझ गए? इस वजह से प्लास्टिक में भी ये जो है इसी तरीके से क्लोजली पैक्ड है, लेकिन वो अपने मेन पोजीशन पर वाइब्रेशंस नहीं कर सकते, जिसकी वजह से वो दूसरे पार्टिकल को ट्रांसफर हीट नहीं कर सकते. The presence of free electrons. Now the second phenomena जो होता है, एक vibrations उनकी है over the mean position, and the second is that when they vibrate, they transfer energy. This transfer of energy takes place because of free electrons. You have read this thing before in the structure of atom, that the electrons are always moving. Some have got capacity to get transferred to the other one, a third one, fourth one. So these free electrons, they can, when they get heated up, they go to the next one and third one, fourth, and so they transfer heat. The presence of free electrons speeds up heat transfer in metals. When metals get heated up, free electrons gain kinetic energy and move faster towards colder part of the metal. They bump into atoms of colder part and transfer energy. In metals, heat energy is transferred from one part to the other by vibration of particles and movement of free electrons. जो दो चीजें conduction में heat transfer करती हैं, one, vibration of the particles about their mean position, two, movement of the free electrons from one particle to the other. And that is why metals are good conductors. Conduction in liquids and gases cannot take place because in liquids they are further apart, in gases, liquids and gases, they are further apart, the particles are further apart to each other, and hence they cannot transfer easily to the other one. Process is very slow as compared to solids. In conduction, in liquids and gases, the conduction process is very slow because they are far apart. Particles of liquid and gases not held closely together. Particles have less chance of bumping into other. Particles in liquid are far less in gases. Particles of liquid and particles of gases have got far less chances of bumping into each other as compared to solids, because solids are closely packed and in liquids they are further away. Water and air are bad conductors. You please remember this thing, water and air are bad conductors. I'll come again and I will recapitulate whatever we talked about. This chapter is about transmission of heat, यानी थवानाई कैसे, how does heat get transferred from one point to the other. एक जगह से दूसरी जगह heat कैसे transfer होती है. You have read earlier in class 6 that kinetic energy is the energy of matter in motion. जब थवानाई जब कोई पार्टिकल इन मोशन हो उसके पास काइनेटिक एनर्जी. दिस काइनेटिक एनर्जी इज द थर्मल एनर्जी ऑफ द पार्टिकल्स. दे आर कॉन्स्टेंटली इन मोशन. व्हेन दे आर इन मोशन दे बम्प इनटू अनदर वन and transfer the energy to them, and from there to third one, fourth one. This way they keep transferring. This thermal energy is transferred from one particle to the other, and heat always flows from a particle at high temperature to low. Again, kinetic energy is the energy of any particle in motion. One, remember. Two, the small particles that make up matter are constantly moving, so they have kinetic energy. The energy of motion of particles in matter is called thermal energy. थर्म का मतलब हमेशा हीट होता है. थर्मल एनर्जी मीन्स हीट एनर्जी. व्हेन थर्मल एनर्जी इज ट्रांसफर इट इज कॉल्ड हीट एनर्जी. हीट इज थर्मल एनर्जी दैट फ्लोज फ्रॉम एन ऑब्जेक्ट फ्रॉम हाई टेम्परेचर टू एन ऑब्जेक्ट एट लो टेम्परेचर. नाउ दिस ट्रांसफर ऑफ हीट, we give an example of a teacher who's got some dates with him or her, and the teacher wants this to be given to the students. One option of giving this to the students is the teacher gives the packet to one of the students and says, please transfer one by one to each one of them. The second option is the teacher asks the students to come and line up, form a line now, and starts giving one by one to each. The third option is the teacher can throw the packet to each one of the students. Now, so there are three options. Similarly, in heat transfer, there are this kind of three different options that heat can get transferred. Transmission of heat means transfer of heat from one point to the other. Conduction. Conduction is the first method, the first way of transferring heat from one place to another. In conduction, if one end of the spoon is heated up with a flame, the other end will also get heated up after a while. This is one of आपका experience है कि अगर एक चम्मच के एक सिरे को गर्म करें दूसरे सिरे तक हीट पहुंच जाती है. The heat energy is transferred from one end of the spoon to the other without actual movement of particles. सबसे अहम चीज़ जो इसमें याद रखने वाली है कि कंडक्शन में पार्टिकल्स जो हैं वो मूव नहीं करते अपनी जगह से, अपनी जगह को नहीं छोड़ते. दिस इज द मेन पॉइंट ऑफ अंडरस्टैंडिंग कंडक्शन. कंडक्शन की जो अहम बात है याद रखने वाली वो ये है कि कंडक्शन प्रोसेस में जो पार्टिकल्स हैं वो अपनी जगह से हरकत नहीं करते और आगे नहीं ट्रेवल करते, कहीं नहीं जाते, अपनी पोजीशन पर रहते हैं. विदाउट एक्चुअल मूवमेंट ऑफ पार्टिकल्स हीट टेक्स प्लेस. ओके. और ट्रांसफर of heat without actual movement, this is the main point to be remembered. Okay. Conduction occurs in solids, liquid, gases, but usually solids में ज़्यादा आसानी से होती है. Conduction कैसे होती है? कंडक्शन टेक्स प्लेस सॉलिड्स में पार्टिकल्स बड़े क्लोजली पैक्ड होते हैं एक दूसरे के साथ साथ. एक पार्टिकल जब गर्म होता है, जिस गर्म एंड के नज़दीक होता है, उसके पार्टिकल्स गर्म वाइब्रेट करते हैं और साथ ही उनकी जो इलेक्ट्रॉन्स हैं उनको, जो फ्री इलेक्ट्रॉन्स हैं उनको एनर्जी मिल जाती है. उसकी वाइब्रेशन से दे बम्प इनटू द सेकंड वन एंड थर्ड वन, फोर्थ वन, और इस तरह एनर्जी ट्रांसफ़र करते रहते हैं. और साथ ही फ्री इलेक्ट्रॉन्स जो हैं वो एक पार्टिकल से दूसरे तीसरे होते हैं ट्रांसफ़र होते हैं. तो इस तरह यहाँ से लेकर यहाँ तक एनर्जी पहुँच जाती है. और some conductors are good conductors and some are bad. Good conductors ऐसे metals या matter को कहते हैं, ऐसा मादे को कहते हैं जिसके अंदर तवानाई एक सिरे से दूसरे सिरे आसानी जा सके, जिसमें ये सलाहियत हो कि पार्टिकल्स जो हैं वाइब्रेट करें और उनके अंदर फ्री इलेक्ट्रॉन्स हो कि एक जगह से दूसरी जगह ट्रांसफर हो सके. गुड कंडक्टर्स आर दैट. गुड कंडक्टर्स आर those metals which allow heat to flow to them easily. And all those materials which allow heat to flow easily are called good conductors, and all those materials which do not allow heat to flow easily are called bad conductors or heat insulators. Okay. And examples of heat insulators are wood, glass and plastic. All liquids except mercury and gases are bad conductors. ये याद रखना आपने. Why metals are better conductors? Because all solids, metals and non-metals are made of tiny particles called molecules. But some conduct heat better than others. Example, metal and plastic. Metal is good conductor, plastic is bad conductor. When both spoons receive heat, the particles of atom and molecule start vibrating and transfer heat from one particle to another one. And secondly, the free particles of metals are packed more closely together than non-metals, so transmit heat. The presence of free electrons speeds up the process, and this way heat gets transferred from hot body to the cold one. The conduction in liquids and gases is much slow because the particles are not closely packed together, and number two, they do not have those free electrons to move about. So this process is very slow because as compared to solids, particles of liquid and gases are not held closely together. Particles that have less chance of bumping into other one, and that is why heat process is slow. So now I would expect you, please, it's a new chapter, you should make your notes, draw the headings neatly in capital letters, draw the diagrams, and if you have any difficulty in understanding, please feel free to call me at the numbers that I've already given to you, but I will write again 0333 5516 358. Or you can give at this number, this is a WhatsApp number 0336 547 3312. You can give me a call anytime you feel like, and you can, whatever difficulty or problem you're facing, you can ask me. You can also send me an SMS and I'll be very glad to help you out. Thank you very much.